Hey, marketers, where are you on your AI maturity curve? Have you got your AI adoption roadmap in place for 2024? Have you formulated your AI testing plans? And are you a key member of your 360-degree cross-functional task force on enabling AI? Seriously, I don't mean to scare you, but I kind of actually do. Let me be very clear. These exact questions are on the minds of CEOs and boards everywhere, including mine. Okay, to support that finding, from Deloitte in July of 2023, they write, still early in its adoption, generative AI is creating a wave of disruption. Over half of CEOs surveyed, 55%, are evaluating or experimenting with generative AI. 79% of CEOs believe generative AI will increase efficiencies, and half of CEOs surveyed, 52%, believe it will increase growth opportunities. Finally, over a third, 37%, are currently implementing an AI playbook. So, marketers, do you actually have your own AI marketing playbook? Welcome to Unprompted, a podcast about AI marketing and you. I'm Pete Housley, Chief Marketing Officer at Unbounce, and Unbounce is the AI-powered landing page builder with smart features that drive superior performance. And not only that, but our team of machine learning gurus have been at it now for a few years. And our data moat is no joke. It takes a lot of data to drive sophisticated AI solutions. And we'll get to that a little later. I want to take a minute to thank you, our amazing audience of marketers. Over 50,000 of you have now downloaded Unprompted, and we are now ranked in the top 5% of podcasts worldwide. Wow, we're going to really have to up our game. So we've been on quite a journey over the first 8 episodes. We started with the basic question of, can you create an entire marketing campaign using AI? Yep. You can. Unbounce was born, and we proved we could conceive, develop, publish a complete AI marketing campaign. We explored the potential and future of AI marketing and talked to experts to look into the crystal balls, the risks, the pitfalls, the advantages, etc. We explored the AI arms race and unpacked the AI advances of Microsoft, Google, Meta, and even X. And it is gobsmacking to see the investments, the billions of dollars stacked up in this area regarding our imminent future of AI. We geeked out with AI and data. We spoke to leaders from agencies who are leveraging AI in servicing their clients. And with the help of our PR pals, we put AI itself on trial and explored the ethical implications for better or worse deepfakes. Finally, we reviewed over 150 AI marketing tools, and some of them are indeed game-changing. The Bounce-O-Meter was born, and we had a number of AI tools ranking with 3 bouncing elephants. So where do we go from here? We go deeper. We get more sophisticated. We find more experts. We find the best experts. And I hope I have found one, if not 2, of the best experts on AI marketing in North America as today's guest. And before I introduce him, officially is Mike Kaput, Chief Content Officer at the Marketing AI Institute. I'll come back to Mike in just a moment. First, I want to introduce my co-host, Jess Petrella, Unbounce's very own Director of Product Marketing and our undisputed in-house AI expert. Jess has worked in the SaaS industry for over 10 years, and in that time has brought dozens of innovative products to market. She keeps keenly focused on driving business growth through effective go-to-market strategies and product positioning. Over the past few years, Jess has positioned herself at the intersection between AI and marketing, having developed strategies that have formed how Unbounce has brought our own innovative AI-powered tools to market. Outside of Unbounce, she is the creator of AI for Product Marketers, an advanced Notion AI template system containing practical, useful, and inspired templates just for product marketers. Jess has written a number of publications, including a piece in B2B Marketer on AI's impact on SEO, conversion in the marketing funnel, appropriately titled The Search Armageddon. Earlier this year, Jess joined a panel of experts to discuss current and future implications of AI in marketing and business. I'm super excited to say that Jess and I are going to be on the main stage at Hot Sauce this year, a digital marketing conference in New York, and we are going to be broadcasting Unprompted live from New York. Excited about that. Jess, welcome to the show. And what the heck is on your AI mind these days?
Hey, Pete. What's on my AI mind these days? I mean, what isn't? We are quite in the thick of it, aren't we? For me, it's all about simplification these days. And how I've been doing that for myself is I look for the unique solutions, many of which we've detailed on our podcast here. I look for unique human problems that are being solved for the workplace and for the workforce. This just keeps me inspired on my learning journey because it's quite easy to get overwhelmed with all of the hype around AI. So I keep looking out for those gems. And as you mentioned, as a product marketer with a mission to ready my community for the future of this tech, I sort of need to be an optimist while also being super critical of the space at the same time and where it's headed. So yeah, keeping my mind clear, that's all I can do these days, and to, create some level of ease and importance of what we do here at Unbounce as well.
With a clear mind, tell me, when I say or ask marketers, where are you on your AI maturity curve? What goes through your mind?
Yeah, so here's how I look at it. I'm an early adopter. We're all technically early adopters. I've experienced AI outputs from bad go to good and good go to excellent, mind-blowing, especially in the last couple of months. At Unbounce, we work in this space day in and day out. So I do feel like we're really at the front of this wave and championing it forward. So when I think about the AI maturity curve, it's early. I'm early, you're early, we're all early, but it's a great place to be because the alternative is being behind.
Well, and I'm looking forward in a few minutes to getting Mike's point of view on how early we are, the world is. But as you said, you're an early adopter. So I'm assuming you're not as early as most of us. And with that in mind, Jess, how much time do you spend a day, a week, a month, a year learning, investing in grasping AI?
It's countless at this point, and it's so new, so it's constantly evolving. So you have to put the work in. You have to remain educated. You have to consistently put forward and understand what there needs to be understood as we move forward.
I wonder if the old Malcolm Gladwell concept of 10,000 hours applies to learning AI, but
I'm getting
generally,
close, Pete.
right? Generally, to master anything, we have to make it a habit and we have to make it a focus, and we apply constant gentle pressure to, keep that learning. And I am certainly committed to it. And probably if I wasn't hosting this show, I would be nowhere where I am today. So thank you to our audience for tuning in. All right, I want to put you on the spot, Jess, and get a little more specific here. If you had to peg a category for AI marketing innovation, what would that be?
Yeah, so I am deeply interested in AI for the audio visual space right now. If you look at things like what NVIDIA is doing with the broadcast app, it's turning the regular home office where we are all sitting right here, right now in our home offices. It's turning our home office into a home studio. And they're doing that with some really amazing stuff. So simple things like just augmenting live videos so that the presenter is making eye contact even when they're looking away, it's fantastic, right? Right now, I have notes to the right, I have all of you to the left, and your digital squares. We're all sitting at home in our home offices, and it's just augmenting that to make it more connected, to make it more personable. And that to me is a space that is going to drastically change over the next 12 months. And I'm starting to dig into it, and I hope everyone else is as well.
Super interesting. And I think there are certain tools that just make us more efficient at what we might already do manually. There are other tools which give us skill sets that we didn't even have. Like, I'm not an art director, and now I could go to Midjourney or DALL-E and I could create anything, or, produce a video. And then we see these marketing efficiency, predictive modeling tools that use oodles of data and then drive really, really interesting performance marketing results. And we're going to get to Mike again in a minute. Okay. Last question, Jess. Do you think marketers need an AI playbook?
Yeah, there's no doubt, right? Ongoing guidance is required in this ever-changing space. Will the playbook change as soon as it's set? Absolutely. So staying nimble in terms of direction, in terms of how to execute against this new tool set. But of course,
let me just formally introduce today's topic. What are the steps that we need to take to integrate AI marketing into our marketing strategy and stay ahead of the curve in 2024? We give you your AI playbook for the year ahead. And in this episode, we'll find out how to get started with AI and how to do more with it and where practically to apply it. And today we have the perfect esteemed guest to help us put together this AI playbook. I'm thrilled to have Mike Kaput, Chief Content Officer at Marketing AI Institute, to chat through all of this. Hopefully, we're going to tap into Mike's genius. Mike is a recognized expert on marketing, content, and, of course, artificial intelligence. He is also a writer, speaker, and author. Currently serves as CCO at Marketing AI Institute, where he uses marketing, content, and AI to grow traffic, leads, and revenue. Go figure. Mike previously served in marketing leadership role at HubSpot's first ever partner agency. The Marketing AI Institute is a media, event, and online education company making AI approachable and accessible to marketing and business leaders around the world. They've published 700 articles, understand, pilot, and scale AI. They track hundreds of AI-powered tools with, I think, a vendor market capitalization of $18 billion. Without further ado, Mike, welcome to the show. And what is on your AI marketing mind?
Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. I don't know, maybe I'll just come in hot and say there's stuff that I'm excited about, stuff I'm scared of, but there's some really exciting things and terrifying things going on in the world of AI that marketers and business people should probably be aware of. Two that kind of jump to mind. The first one, which I'm very, very excited about, is the vision capabilities that we're getting in tools like ChatGPT. So probably a week or two ago, ChatGPT got the ability to see, to recognize and understand images. And we've already started using this tool or this capability to do things like automatically analyze marketing dashboards, take screenshots or photos of whiteboards, and you can start turning those ideas into diagrams or apps even. There's just no limit to what you can do once some of these tools start being able to actually understand the world around them visually. Now, some of the scary stuff, though, I also spent 3 hours today trying to clone my own voice with AI, and I didn't get quite there, but how far I got and for how little money, that terrified me a little bit. The days are not here yet where I get replaced on our own podcast by AI, but man, some of the voice technology out there is really stunning how quickly it's gotten very, very good.
Well, it's funny, Mike. One of my pet projects actually is to produce the next podcast, cloning my voice, interviewing myself about the highlights from the previous 9 or 10 episodes. And we're using Wondercraft for that in a collaboration. And so far, it's looking and sounding pretty convincing. So we'll let the audience be the judges on that. Mike, before we get into your genius, could you tell us a little bit about how the Marketing AI Institute can help me as a marketer?
Yeah, absolutely. So for many years, since about 2016, we've been making AI approachable and actionable for marketing and business leaders. And there's a big reason we do that, which is that AI is going to, without a doubt, profoundly change how our jobs as marketers work and how business as a whole works. And it's increasingly doing so very, very quickly. Yet, despite all the hype around AI, despite the explosion of tools and the interest in ChatGPT, the vast majority of marketing and business leaders still lack a baseline understanding of what AI is and what's possible. So our whole reason for being is to help them change that. And we do that by giving them the education, guidance, and community that they need to actually build a sustainable competitive advantage with AI. And we do that in a ton of different ways, and we're always adding more. But some of the big ones are through our industry leading podcast and website. We have free and paid online education, and we do a bunch of in-person and virtual events.
Yeah, wonderful, Mike. Mike, you and I have had some good chats in our time earlier this year about AI marketing. Since then, it seems like you've been from the moon and back on some of this stuff. So I'm wondering if you can give us some of your top incredible facts and gleanings about AI marketing since the beginning of the year.
Yeah, so I'm actually going to lean on some research that we did pretty recently, our 2023 State of Marketing AI report. We do this every year in partnership with Drift. And this year we got the most responses ever. Almost 1,000 marketing leaders responded to a bunch of questions we asked them about AI in marketing. And a lot of really positive things came out of it, but also there's definitely some stats that kind of made me sit up and say, whoa, okay, we have some more work to do. But the first one is that 64% of the people we surveyed say AI is either very or critically important to their marketing success over the next 12 months. This came out a month or two ago. The big point here is that this is a significant change from last year. So 51% of people said the same thing last year. So clearly, this is becoming much more of a priority. What also kind of pleasantly surprised me is that 98% of all marketers we surveyed said they're personally using AI in some way. Now, obviously, our audience probably skews towards people that are maybe some early adopters, but still, I was pretty impressed that 98% of people have actually started using it. Now, here's the bad news, though. 78% of people say their employers have zero internal AI education or training. Only 22% have generative AI policies. 21% only have an AI ethics or responsible AI principles, either, public facing or private. So it's really this kind of interesting environment where we've reached peak interest and excitement about AI, but there's a massive gap in the tools, practical tools people have internally at their organizations to actually learn what this stuff is, how to actually use it in their careers and their roles, and how to get the most out of it.
Yeah, it's so interesting, Mike. It seems like every marketer has turned their attention to AI for marketing use cases, but there's a lag within organizations and understanding and adoption of tools. Where do you see that divide really being something that we need to conquer over the next, let's say, 12 months?
Yeah, it's probably in a lot of domains. I mean, there's so many segments of the market, but I think people assume that because of the hype around stuff like ChatGPT, that it's obvious to everyone and every marketer that they need to be on top of these tools. And we just still haven't found that to be the case. It's getting much, much better, but there's still so many companies that I can tell you from personal experience talking to them they're so far behind where you think the market is as a whole. Not behind generally, but more just they are still taking their first steps. Just because we all jumped on something like ChatGPT the day it comes out, there's still plenty of people that have barely even touched the thing or have barely looked at generative AI. So I actually think we have quite a ways to go before we even get the mass of people having truly pushed the limits on what these tools are capable of. And then at the same time, I think there's this plateau some other people are hitting where they're like, hey, I'm using a few of these tools pretty regularly, but we've kind of hit a wall of how to actually get more mature as an organization and start reinventing how we do our work beyond, using generative AI in a few ways to save some time and money.
Well, it's funny, Mike. I mean, I wasn't really joking when I said the opening. Are you on a 360-degree task force about AI? Because what we know is this is going to have to be sponsored from the top down and across organizations. And I can tell you on the two big AI initiatives I have going on at Unbounce, we've built those into our quarterly priorities planning, and we have earmarked capacity and outcomes and responsibilities. So unless we're actually programming and planning for the outcomes you want, it's hard to just do this off the side of your desk and, learn AI and implement it and do better marketing. Like literally, it has to be a lot more thoughtful than that. All right. So, Mike, just like I put Jess on the spot a few minutes ago, if I had to put you on the spot, what are 5 top use cases for AI marketing?
I'm going to attack this from a couple angles. The first one is this is a question for years we struggled with in our own business was like, there's like thousands of possible use cases. How do we even think about this? How do we even start? And so first, before I get into the 5, we kind of look at this as there's 3 broad categories of tasks that AI can be applied to. And they're very, very broad, but once you start to grasp them, you kind of start to understand, oh, okay, I can apply this to anything I do in my job that meets these criteria. And really, they come down to prediction, vision, and language. AI is very, very good at making predictions or forecasts based on the right data. AI is also able to do many, many, many things that relate to any type of images or video. And last but certainly not least, with language, anything that relates to the written or spoken word, you probably have a pretty good use case for AI. So within those 3 core applications, there's literally thousands of use cases and tools. Now, some of the ones, these 5, I would say that I really like right now. First is image recognition. I mentioned the vision capabilities of ChatGPT. They're stunning, and I think that it's still so early, they're going to change everything. Data analysis is another huge area. This is in ChatGPT as well as other tools, but the ability we now have to simply query and converse with data in natural language is going to be a huge game changer for marketers. I mentioned that report we did. I was able to do that report in 5% of the time it usually takes because of these simple capabilities, and it's still so early. I'm also a huge fan in my job of the abilities of certain tools to do long form content summarization. So I can take literally dozens or hundreds of pages and have it be put into a format where I can research, I can analyze, I can accelerate understanding topics so I can create great content. And then 2 others here, ideation of any type. Honestly, I have some of these tools open 24 hours a day anytime I have any type of issue where I'm trying to be creative or come up with ideas. And then visual generative AI is just really cool. You mentioned Dolly, the Midjourneys of the world. It's truly stunning what kind of stuff we can create. And I just geek out about it even just for fun. As someone who's kind of a little artistically minded, but not classically trained in any type of art, it's really empowering to be able to create some of these things we're able to now create.
Well, clearly, you are way farther along on your AI maturity curve. And when you articulate those 5 things with that degree of confidence, it's almost like you're saying, yeah, this is just what you do. This is just a day in the life of how I now do marketing. And all of those use cases are really great. And I particularly love what's going on in data analysis. And no longer do we need to be able to do advanced, VLOOKUPs and join tables and pivot tables. We can merely think or describe about the data shape or the graph that we'd like and have AI do all the rest. And so that to me is very, very liberating to marketers who might not have the data depth that they otherwise would have. And I think ideation is really, really interesting that you can get a co-pilot, a co-creative director in AI to bounce ideas and iterate a little bit.
Like while you're talking there, it brings up a question that I'm constantly asking myself about AI, particularly related to marketing. It's a bit of a chicken and the egg question. So I'm kind of going to throw it at you and see what you think about it. In this world, the chicken is technology. The egg is the value of the technology. Are we focused on, let's say, the 3 use cases that you pulled out because the technology is where it is today? Or are those 3 things really going to be what this tech solves best for us?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I hadn't really thought about it, but I would say it's probably hard to say, right? Because these things are improving so fast in certain areas that I've started to really be skeptical of my ability to say, oh, okay, like this will take a certain amount of months or years to arrive, because every AI expert, like people building this stuff, have been continually surprised by how quickly it's developed new capabilities. I think language vision prediction, I think, are helpful benchmarks or ways to think about this, but really just think about what are all the things humans do really well. And I guarantee you AI will do them at some point if they can't already. So it's really, you're just thinking about the capabilities that we have as people that are relatively unique in the economy or in the world. I mean, the ability to create, to think, to understand, to reason. These are capabilities that may not be at a human level in AI systems today, but they're absolutely on a trajectory to do those things pretty well. So I think that's kind of how I think about it, is like, what are all the things that humans value and get paid for? That's probably stuff that AI will be able to help or do very soon.
Yeah, super interesting. I've had this theory that it's a bit of a sci-fi theory, I'll admit, but we're really just creating ourselves, right? And this is our means to do that. So super interesting. I'm curious if you are prepared to declare or endorse any particular AI marketing tools today that you're just a champion of.
Yeah, sure. I've got a few that I always recommend, and these by no means are exclusionary to other tools that do similar things. These are just some that I've used and just rely on almost daily and have come quickly. Pete, to your point, like it's crazy how quickly I find myself, like if I look at my average day, whereas 6 to 12 months ago, none of these tools were in it and helping me do the things I'm doing. It's really been a pretty profound sea change. But first off, like, I'm sorry, if you're a marketer that has not paid for ChatGPT Plus yet, you really, like, unless you are truly in some serious financial distress, which we all have been in our lives, like, you have to pay for this for a month and start using it, because the paid version is so much better. It has so many more capabilities. They're quickly becoming very multimodal. So the ability to see, to generate images, to understand data, the amount of time you can save, even just scratching the surface with that tool, is incredible. So I'd highly recommend you should probably have that regardless of what you are doing. Another I mentioned quite a bit is called Claude 2, Claude.ai. It's really the latest model. It's a ChatGPT-like assistant from a company called Anthropic. And what's cool about Claude is it has what we would call like a very large context window. So unlike ChatGPT, it can actually ingest tens of thousands of words at a time. So ChatGPT can deal with some pretty large prompts or inputs, like you could have it summarize an article or several pages. Claude can summarize like a book. I mean, it can take in, I think, like 75,000 words, which is, I think, the length of like The Great Gatsby, the novel. So that scale of context window opens up so many interesting possibilities when it comes to learning new topics, getting and synthesizing research for whatever you happen to be doing for a campaign, for content creation, and then a few others. I mean, DALL-E 3 is really incredible just for its ease of use right within ChatGPT. I love Midjourney personally. I think it probably gets technically better results, but for some people, it's like a little harder to use. And then a couple others that we use, play around with, or find extremely valuable. A tool called Market Muse, which is basically an AI platform that helps you rank in search. We've used that platform for years to identify what topics we should actually write about, identify what existing content could use a refresh, and we could actually get a ton more value out of it. I mean, it's basically helped us outrank people and companies we have no business outranking, frankly. And then the last one I'd say it's worth a look for this particular really good use case is a tool called Rasa.io. What this does, it's AI that creates newsletters automatically. So it takes content from a bunch of different sources that you specify, creates a newsletter out of it. And what's cool is as you send the newsletter time and time again to your audience, Rasa learns their content consumption habits, and it will actually automatically tailor the newsletter to individuals. So over time, you could have 100,000 subscribers. They will all get a slightly different variation of a newsletter with relevant topics and news and content. And, of course, when you're getting stuff that is more relevant to what you've clicked on in the past, you're going to open that email more and engage with it more. So those are just a couple really, really cool ones.
Mike, that's an incredible list. And all of them incredibly time-saving and empowering. I'm super interested to see Rasa and try that out because we publish a quarterly newsletter. And obviously, we want to do better every time. And we want to be serving up our customers content that is most meaningful for them. So thank you for that. A lot of those were really in the area of content development more than in the area of what I would call marketing automation or, ad serving or, performance marketing, but certainly love how the content tools, both in writing and art direction, really can empower, especially small marketing teams that might not have a team of art directors and writers and designers and things like that. All right. So clearly, Jess and Mike, on the AI maturity curves, you two are relatively elite to the world at large, which is why I have you on the show today. Mike, in your estimation, where are marketers on their AI adoption or maturity curve? So if you had to call it on a scale of 1 to 10,
I don't know. I'll probably revise this later, but honestly, I think most people think it's around a 6, but I think it's hovering around a 3, honestly, because I think there are some very awesome, forward-thinking and vocal outliers that are doing really crazy stuff. But I still think so many of the organizations we talk to still in many, many different industries, especially outside of, say, your typical Silicon Valley crowd or very high-tech businesses, they're barely even understanding what we're talking about when we talk about AI. Functionally, for many people in the world, AI was not actually even on the radar until 11 months ago with ChatGPT. And even when it was, many of those people got freaked out by it, or it's oh, this is cool. People are going to cheat in school with it and don't understand the technology underneath the surface that powers that tool and many of the others. That's been kind of quietly building up in power and capabilities for over a decade. And of course, AI in some form or another has been around for 60, 70 years in one sense or another. So people don't realize a lot of things went into the last several decades to get us to this current moment. It feels like it's coming out of nowhere because they weren't paying attention to all the other factors that were building beneath the surface. And now that we're here, I think the people that get it, it's easy when you're using this stuff and talking about it every day to think, well, of course, people are using these tools regularly. Of course, organizations are building AI roadmaps and strategies, and some are. It's getting much better. I think that 3 will go to a 5 or a 6 pretty quickly in the next 12 to 24 months here. But I just don't see today your average marketer truly grasping how profoundly different our jobs are going to be in the near future.
Your assessment of 3 is exactly where we are, right? We've dabbled in it. We're interested in it. We've tried a few things. We haven't necessarily operationalized them, but here we are just, going into the fourth quarter of 2023. So we're all doing our planning now for the year ahead. And we wanted to have the real meat in today's show, giving marketers the toolkit. So I'm going to ask you this question 2 different ways, but it's the same question. Either how do companies get started from a 3 towards their AI journey? Or do you have a 5-step playbook for how to get going on AI marketing? Same question asked a couple of different ways.
That's an awesome question. So first I'm going to go into the 5 steps, and then I want to talk just after that briefly about what to do if you're at that 3 stage, right? Because the 5 steps are going to be kind of bigger picture, but then there's a couple practical things you can do within those. But the 5 kind of steps broadly we see as this playbook, the 5 essential steps. The first is you have to focus on education and training. There's simply no other way to get good with these tools except for using them. So I say this as someone that has co-authored a book, co-hosts a podcast. These are all great resources, but you have to go beyond reading and listening. You have to actually just get your hands dirty with this technology and also work with people, ideally, whether it's internally or externally, who can teach you how to get the most out of these tools and how to think about them. Because it's not just about getting good with ChatGPT, though you can get really far doing that. The second is at your company, if you have not already, create some type of formal or informal internal AI council. One person or one executive, one champion is not going to figure all this out. You need those individuals, but you're going to have to find people across different departments at every level of the organization who can start coming together regularly in a formal capacity to start planning for what happens when we start adopting some of these tools. What tools should we be adopting? What is going to be the impact on our business? How is what we do going to change if we even successfully adopt AI? Another one, like those stats I talked about, indicate you need to develop responsible AI principles and generative AI policies. These don't have to be formal or crazy. They could be a work in progress. There's lots of people out there, like our friends at Jasper just released, I think, a generative AI policy template you can use. It's pretty prominent on their website, jasper.ai. So you can just take templates that people have out there. You have to start communicating to your people how you are using AI, how you are not using AI, what is acceptable and what is not, because otherwise you're going to run into significant problems. Now, a little bit bigger picture and longer term, but kind of what I'm hinting at with the AI Council, you're probably going to want to start conducting an AI impact / kind of exposure assessment for your teams. Now, this is something we kind of really deep dive into with consulting or workshop clients. It's not something you can figure out in an afternoon. But what you want to start understanding is there's a lot more to this than just finding the right tool. A lot of people are like, oh, what tool should I use? What technology should we adopt? That's a huge question and really important. More important, though, is what happens if you succeed? We're talking about tools that give you double and triple digit performance gains or productivity gains. That's amazing. But the first question you're going to get from a lot of your staff is, what happens to me? What happens to my role? There's a huge amount of change management involved in these tools. So you're going to have to start planning for how this is going to change jobs. And then last but not least, build an AI roadmap. This is a big document we often help large organizations with, but this is really determining where are you going with AI over the next 12 to 24 months. What pilot projects are you going to prioritize each quarter? What use cases are most valuable for the organization to solve for? This is basically going to be the formalization of your playbook here. So that's kind of how I would answer that first question. And second, if you're at a 3 right now, you also, in addition to being involved in this bigger playbook, need to also sit down and figure out what AI means for you. Even if nobody in your company is moving as fast as you want, or there's no training, you need to take an interest with urgency in figuring out how you can leverage these tools to give yourself superpowers and also protect yourself from some of the disruption that will happen if you let this technology kind of manage you versus the other way around. So I would say if I am your average marketer who's at a 3, let's say you don't have a ton of time to figure all this stuff out, I would literally just get a Chat GPT Plus account and I would keep it open all day, every day as you do everything and try to use it for every single thing you do. Many times it will just not be useful or it will fail. But in the process, you're going to find out, oh my gosh, there's like 3 to 5 things that I can rely on this for and free up dozens of hours a month. And then you can start reinvesting that time into getting more formal with your experimentation of the tools.
Mike, that is such a practical list. And we do know, and we've heard throughout our episodes, that change management is a big piece here. And we started the series out saying, are robots coming for your job? And very early into the series, we said, no, they're not. But marketers using AI will replace marketers who are not. So get on board with that. And the other theme that we've had, which is not unlike if you're at a 3, upgrade your ChatGPT Plus account, it's really be curious. And that curiosity can't just be like 15 minutes a day. Like you've got to become a student of change management of AI and think about, as marketing leaders, how do I lead my functional area of the organization and show up in a way that I am driving efficiencies and I am driving innovation. And that means that in order to assign that bandwidth or budgets, we do need to have these cross-functional, sponsored endeavors through the organizations. But we started today saying this is already on the minds of CEOs. And so it is really coming at us, from top down, from the industry wide, and now from, bottom up as, marketing professionals. So I'm excited. I learned a ton today, and we're certainly going to post in the notes some of the tools that we've talked about today. Before we let Mike say his last closing comments, Jess, what are you thinking, having been through that? You came into this a pro, we've talked to a pro. Is there any new takeaways that you've learned in this episode, Jess?
I think Mike, you're spot on. It seems discouraging to say, hey, we're marketers and we're still just getting our bearings and still figuring this out. But it is new for a lot of people and it is normal where we are. So I think it's a good, realistic point of view. We have only opportunity to move up from here, only an opportunity to grow as marketers in this space. So I really appreciate that point of view.
Mike, closing thoughts.
The curiosity point is a valid one. You need to go start exploring right now. And it doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be formal. We have spent 7 years on marketingAIinstitute.com, producing quite a few resources that can get you very far for free and other ones that can help accelerate things that are paid. So I'd say visit us there for sure. Check out all that we have to offer across resources and events and education. But whatever you do, just take the first step if you have not already. And if you have, I'd encourage you to challenge yourself to move with a little more urgency, just because I realize we're all busy. I realize we all have limited time and bandwidth, but this is probably one of, if not the biggest technological change we'll see in our lifetime. So I think it's worth paying a little attention to.
Curiosity and urgency sound like a good recipe. I want to thank you both for being incredible co-host and guest today. And you made me smarter than I was coming in, and hopefully our audience too. Thank you both.
Thank you.
This podcast is brought to you by Unbounce. Most AI marketing tools are kind of the same. That's because they're built on the same generic machine learning models, and they get you generic results in your marketing. Unbounce is different. It's trained on data from billions of conversions, which means it gives you content and recommendations proven to get you more leads, sales, and signups. If you're a marketer, or just someone doing marketing, you need Unbounce. You can build beautiful, high-converting landing pages for your ads and emails, plus get AI copywriting and conversion optimization tools, all powered by more than a decade of marketing data. Get the most conversions with Unbounce. Learn more at unbounce.com/unprompted.